It's great to have you join us yet again. This is Enterprise Weekend, reaching you from Enterprise Television from the economic capital of Nigeria, Lagos. My name is Henry Igwepike. We'll be starting off today with our newspaper headlines, and right after that, in a jiffy, is our main conversation for today. Please do well to be part of what we do. You can always see us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We're very honored to have with us today together right here in our studios, Emeka Amandunago, journalist, public affairs analyst. Good morning to you, Emeka.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you so very much for your time.
Happy New Month.
Happy New Month, especially. Yes, today is the first day in the month of March 2025, a penultimate day to the end of the fourth quarter of 2025. Very excited to be here today, and most importantly, very excited to be alive to do this with every one of you. So let's start off today with our newspaper headlines, and this is coming from the Vanguard newspaper. And the big story here, of course, is Akpabio wants me to take care of him. Senator Natasha alleges sexual harassment against Senate President Akpabio. It's all lie. My husband is disciplined. Akpabio's wife reacts, threatens court action. Lawyers demand Akpabio's probe, insist burden of proof rests on Natasha. Emeka Madunago, this is really very strange, but at the same time, very sensitive. That someone like Senator Godswill Akpabio is being indicted of all things sexual harassment. Really?
Why? Goldfish have no hiding place now. So, of course, it's between himself and a colleague, a fellow senator. So I believe at the end of the day, they will resolve their differences, privately, and then, influential Nigerians will intervene and call them to the, just call them to a round table. But I don't understand. I don't understand what Godswill Akpabio's wife means by saying that her husband is disciplined.
So does that mean the husband is not disciplined?
Natasha didn't say her husband jumped on her. He just said he made sexual advances at her. And she has gone to court because she believes she has evidence to prove her case. So it's left for her to give evidence. And then it's left for the court to now decide whether this evidence is strong enough to, pass a guilty verdict on Akpabio. So, but I think it's just a deflection, a way of just deflecting attention, from so that it doesn't look one-sided. I mean, in a way of, in a manner of speaking, so that Akpabio doesn't go and jump into the, the dock, because it also looks somehow. Excuse me, the president of the Senate suing a senator and all of that, But I think, I don't know, to what extent Akpabio's wife has been able to prove the cause of her action.
The innocence of the husband?
No, not even about the innocence. It's the court that has... I'm talking about proving the cause. If you go to court and say so and so and so, defamatory and all of that, between a man and a woman, gestures could mean a lot of things.
Definitely, yeah.
So, and these are not things, like a physical touch, or something more than that. So I wonder, just saying that your husband is disciplined.
Because Natasha has come up with lots of really sensitive allegations.
Yes.
That Akpabio demanded sex from her. And at some point when she visited the home of Akpabio in Uyo, that she was actually asking that he could literally make her all the benefits of being...
One other woman has said something like that, Joy Nunia. Akpabio's wife didn't go to court. How come now that Natasha has said the same thing, she's going to court? Of course. There is, I just think it's something that left for the court to decide. But it's also a wake-up call for men in power to be mindful of how they relate with their female colleagues, and then with women generally, because the world is becoming more sensitive now. To gestures, to
kindness,
words that are, that just look harmless, to certain acts of kindness and all of that, The world is becoming more and more sensitive. You had the Me Too movement, where women were just calling out men for doing this or for doing that and all of the other, and that and the other. And I remember some female friends, they blocked me on social media. Why? Because I said, that people should not be convicted on the basis of allegations. That this thing should be investigated. If there are people who feel wrong, they should go to court. On that basis, some of my friends, female friends on social media blocked me. I said, okay, no problem. So I think, it's a wake-up call, not just to men in high position, but in different places.
It's actually very unfortunate, really, that at this point in our nation, when we should be talking about very serious things, that other nations are far ahead of us technologically, scientifically, but here we are talking about what teenagers are debating about. And that is what we have our senators making laws for us, debating and talking about. It's so very unfortunate, really, that we're seeing this. But Emeka, let's talk about Obasa. Supporters return to a complex. Of course, you saw the viral video, which his colleagues talked and said he was acting more like an actor. The way he made his way right into the office that belongs to Miranda. And he, of course, came into the office and took ownership of the office. And I asked myself, what's happening to
and even sat in the chambers with 4 members, saying that the others refused to go. It all just shows you that more than a quarter of a century after the return of democracy, our politicians have learned nothing. They don't care. To them, democracy is just like another business transaction. It doesn't, the values, the ethos, the nuances don't matter to them. All that matters to them is that, whatever they can make out of it, let them make out of it. They don't care about the people. That was why you saw National Security Advisor, No Ribadu, saying that Canada can go to hell for not giving a visa to the Chief of Defense Staff, General Chris Musa. So that's how, Nigerian people can go to hell, as long as those in power have their way. And it's sad. It's sad. You have been impeached by, a process in the House of Assembly. So if you feel you felt rightly aggrieved and you've gone to court, so you cannot approbate and reprobate at the same time. You cannot go to court. You're in court and at the same time you are engaging in self-help. You will only just end up, not holding on to anything. That is it.
All right, Emeka, let's look at this particular issue. I know you had virtually, when we had that conversation. It's on the Weekend Trust, actually. Fuel scarcity looms as ban on 60,000 liters trucks takes effect today, the 1st of March. You had talked about it and you said this, it was more like a smoke screen, that nothing would happen, that the 60,000 liters of truck logistics they have to go. And right now, the reality is fuel scarcity is already becoming a little bit here and there, especially in the northern part of Nigeria.
You see, we must decide what we want in this country. The National Union of Petrol and Natural Gas Workers, NOPENG, had over the years, recurrently, been withdrawing their services, mainly because of the bad condition of our roads. Now, the Tinubu administration has said that one of its focal areas, will be the roads. And, it just continued with, in fact, the Buhari administration actually, introduced the road infrastructure tax credit scheme, to ensure, that private companies use their company income tax, the annual company income tax, to fix their roads. And I think some thousands of kilometers of roads have been fixed. But the other thing there is that, what about the kind of load, axle load on the roads? You're talking about bad roads, and at the same time, you don't mind, putting trucks with huge, heavy axle load on the roads.
But if you juxtapose it to the importance of the products to a generality of Nigerians and what that would translate to the economic growth in such regions, that would equally, cascade to the nation, which do you think comes first?
Let me tell you. I think some people are just trying to be clever by half. It's as simple as ABC. Government says the limit is 45,000 liters. You now added 15,000 liters and made it 60,000 liters. When these tankers are overloaded, that's there's tendency for them to upturn.
So is it been a traditional thing actually for the 45,000?
33,000.
That has always been the mark.
Let me tell you, for years, the standard tonnage has been 33,000. Whether it's a trailer, you are carrying cement. You don't carry more than 600 bags of cement because that is 30,000 tons. For tankers, it's 33,000. It's actually supposed to be 30,000. But sometimes they just leave, some extra 3,000 in an extra chamber just in case. Maybe because of evaporation or so. So as to balance up. Excuse me, the 30,000. Actually supposed to be 30,000. You're now bringing... Subsidies gone. We know that. And then people have now resorted to different means because of the cost of petroleum products. Some like me, use their cars once a week. Some have been able to move to CNG. Some have moved to electric vehicles. And all of that. Some have actually even sold off their vehicles and taken to public transport. So what do we need, those heavy tankers for? Who are they selling the fuel to? The demand for petrol fell from 60-something million liters, down to about 15 million liters, daily. So who are you selling it to? How can you say fuel scarcity is looming? Give us the data. How many vehicles are in the 19 states of the north? How many filling stations? How many do they sell in a day? How many islands does a filling station, an average filling station in the north have? How many vehicles? What is the turnaround time? Within how many minutes do you sell to a vehicle? And then we know how many Nigerians buy full tank these days. Many Nigerians just buy maybe 5,000, 10,000 just to get them to where they are going. Or maybe get them home and then they can have some fuel, to just, get out the next morning before they refuel. Yeah. So these are things that are known. Let's work with data. An organization like NOPENG that deals in a product that has to do with volume should raise its game. It's the same thing with the NLC, the Nigerian Labour Congress. I tell them, you people should have, upgraded your style by now. You should work with data. Not just when telecoms operators say they want to hike tariffs. You are calling out Nigerians on a strike. Have you sat down with these telecoms operators to say, look, get your own in-house statisticians. Let them look at the broad spectrum. And then look at the fact that what are the problems these people are complaining about? This hike, is it justified? Or can we actually negotiate with them to bring it down? But what you often see is that it's the federal government that actually really shows NLC the way to go. Like in this last case, that of the telecoms. Federal government was able to convince them that no, instead of 50% hike, reduce it to 35%. And then NLC agreed, which is what NLC should have pushed for.
But that's the negotiation, because if it had gone for
NLC didn't negotiate. NLC said there shouldn't even be a hike in the first place.
Well, that's a negotiation, a technique, if you ask me.
And then if they refuse, you go on strike. No, you should leave room open for different options. That's what I'm saying. They should have first of all called for a meeting with the chief executives of these organizations or their representatives. You come with your own facts. You don't just put it on the table, revise the tariff. And then when they now show you figures of how their profits have been, the operating costs, have gone up. You don't have any data to counter them. You don't have any data. We're no longer in the military era. This was 21st century, the knowledge era. This is the era where you use knowledge, to push negotiations. You don't just, force a fait accompli. If you don't scrap it, we'll go on strike. How will they be able to pay their workers? You've not considered that aspect. That their workers deserve to be paid. The whole thing is this: work with big data. And with that, honestly speaking, NLC, by the way, should actually be publishing, because the government, the National Bureau of Statistics, publishes, figures, from different areas. NLC should also have their own. They should also have the World Bank. They have statisticians. IMF, they have statisticians. They bring out figures. Does NLC have statisticians? They should have statisticians who will be, looking at figures, looking at trends. They don't need to wait for National Bureau of Statistics. The minimum wage. The federal government has not started paying it to core members. What is NLC doing about that? Do they have a spreadsheet to look at how it's affecting core members? Especially those working in places like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. Places that are very expensive. Yes. Have they brought out such arguments? I remember during the election, when the Labour Party candidate Peter Obi was doing out as people said that statistics will go chop. That is the level of, poor intelligence we have in this country. People don't realize. It's about that's why the World Bank will just come, real out figures. And people will not, contest these figures. Ask them, please justify, how did you get these figures? Which methodology did you use? What we do is that we wait for aid agencies to come and counter, or non-governmental organizations to counter those figures. What are we doing to ourselves? We need to run a knowledge-driven system, so that, we don't take arbitrary actions, rash actions like that. So, talking about, those tankers, I think that idea that fuel scarcity looms is just a pie in the sky. It's just going to blow up. The government should just ignore them.
Really?
Yeah, because what are they supplying? Which opportunity cost should we take? Is it the opportunity cost of allowing tankers of 60,000 and above to damage our roads, and then we keep paying for, the repair of roads? Should we take that? No. The same people will now turn around tomorrow to say they are going on strike because the roads are bad. You know what rehabilitation of roads is costing us? It's costing a lot of money. And there are many areas, of need for this country. Healthcare and the rest of them. Look at the high cost of drugs and all of that. Why? Why should drugs be expensive? That's why you see people who are criminally minded start faking drugs. Yeah. Yes, so that they can sell at cheap prices. That is an area of need. What about housing? We have housing deficit. We have insecurity. There are a lot of issues. Schools, name it. And then we are just spending. Now, Federal Inland Revenue Service is saying that the road infrastructure tax credit scheme, should be stopped forthwith. That we are diverting money that should be. In fact, even the state governments might even go to the Supreme Court. Because what the federal government is doing is illegal. All monies, the Supreme Court ruled in July last year that all monies collected by statutory agencies should be paid into the federation account and shared between the federal, state, and local governments. So, what are we doing by allowing the road infrastructure tax credit scheme to run? What you're doing is that the money that should be shared to states and local governments that the federal government is appropriating for roads. The federal road should be the business of the federal government. Like people like us have called for restructuring. Give these roads to state government. What's the business of federal government running a federal roads that's outside Abuja? The only territory that the federal government controls directly is the FCT.
Well, the issue there is because sometimes we are very hasty in making these decisions. If it goes that way, don't you think we would keep having a proliferation of tolls in our road? You can see the Kafanchan Akwanga road that was built.
You mean the local wet road?
Yes, exactly. With tolls on it. These were money that was borrowed on behalf of us Nigerians, and we are asked to pay to use such roads at the same time.
No, it is those who use it, those using the roads that will pay for that road.
We all will use the road at one point or another.
We may not. Not everybody. There are Lagos Ibadan Expressway that will be told. some time to come. There are other roads that will be told. Tolling is not a bad idea if that will lead to the proper maintenance of roads. You also have you have road tax. You know, I don't know if it has been removed from the the measurement, you know, the cost of per liter. I don't know if it has been removed from it. But there was a time, you know, what we were talking about road tax, you know, per liter of petroleum product, that there should be something put into, you know, it as road tax, so that, you know, that money will go to the maintenance of roads. So it depends on the option that government chooses. There are different options. This one is build, operate, and transfer. So instead of Nigeria having to pay back as a federation, let people using the roads, that road, pay for it. But actually, there should be an alternative road, you know, so that those who can pay can use those, you know. So there are road management, you know, road infrastructure management, you know, there are different options.
Well, I do not know why that is the case for us in Nigeria, Africa particularly, because in other parts of the world, it's the duty of the government to provide these infrastructures that individuals can't provide for themselves, and allow individuals to do what individuals can do, and that is building businesses and allowing businesses to work, employ people so they can work and provide for themselves, and in turn make the nation a wonderful place. But a situation where everything is left for individuals to do, they build roads, they're asked to maintain roads, they're asked to pay for tax to maintain roads, then what then is a function of the government at the end of the day? But we'll have to just leave it at that for this particular segment. Just to let you know, Emeka will be here to take us on our main conversation when we return. The Supreme Court affirms the 27 pro-Wike lawmakers and nullifies local elections in Rivers State, Nigeria. That and the beat is still Enterprise Weekend. Don't go anywhere.